now tuned in to the Cold Hard Truth, Cayman's #1 hard-hitting live podcast show, where we feature some straightforward conversations on political, social, and celebrity news and all things happening in the Cayman Islands and around the world. This show was created to give the people a voice and a means of being involved and informed without any filters. Sometimes it gets crazy, but we always keep it real. We bring you the tea, piping hot, so grab your favorite beverage and join the conversation via WhatsApp at 324-1612. Email tips@CaymanMarlRoad.com. Now, here's your host, Sandy Hill, broadcasting live from the beautiful Cayman Islands.
Cowbell angle?
Kai Angle.
Mannheim
Steamroller, the little drummer boy. I like it. It's part of Kiss Miss on 106.1 Kiss FM. It is brought to you by CG Britcay. And we are Blake and Aaron. Time is 7:25 right now.
Big news. I have some important news for you.
Interesting news.
It's Blake and Aaron's Spilling the Tea with Sandy.
K-Man's top news headlines of the day from CMR.
Good morning, Sandy. How are you?
Morning.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you guys?
We are good.
Awesome.
Yep. Doing great.
What's happening?
Good morning, everybody out there.
Yes. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Truthful Tuesday. Oh, no.
Oh, yeah. It's about to get real.
Yeah. I mean, I have something.
I'm playing with my holiday overlays to see which one actually works, by the way.
Okay.
So you're going to see something super exciting here in a minute.
Right, but the Christmas tree, the top of the Christmas tree. That would be funny. Sandra's head at the top of the Christmas tree.
There you go.
Yes. Look at that one. Boom.
Ooh, it's the presents. That's pretty cool. You see that there?
Look, it's snowing in the Cayman Islands.
Oh, that's cool.
No, I like it.
Amazing. I like it.
Absolutely. Got
Yeah.
more to go.
Oh, cool.
Now, for those of you listening on the radio, they don't see that, but you're doing some effects on your screen. We're looking at each other.
Absolutely.
I would like some
so
live on camera.
it was a very interesting day in court yesterday.
Okay.
What happened?
Well, a lot happened actually. Mr. Mike Adam and his family were in court, and they were being sentenced for common assault.
Is this like a road thing?
Yes.
Okay.
This is a road dispute. It's not even a road yet because government has to complete the job. But this is a right of access way that has been there for 45 years. And as Caymanans would say, Johnny come lately, neighbor wants to change that right of access to benefit his own singular property. And, you can't just do that. So tempers had flared over the past 5 years. Somebody flipped his hat or something, and they all end up in court. And so common assault on the very low end, and nothing recorded, no conviction recorded.
Okay.
So the judge said, get help, people. Mediation.
Sort out, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it sucks when you live next door to someone you're having a conflict with, huh?
Absolutely.
Right,
the worst thing in the world, I think, because, every time you go home, you're like, what today? Or, it's got to be very stressful for all involved, I think. So, hopefully.
Can't we all just get along?
I know.
Right?
No.
Yeah.
Move on with your life.
Hopefully 'tis the season for some love and joy for everyone.
Well, hopefully they can.
Also in court yesterday, there was a young couple who appeared. The young lady was young, but appeared on gun-related charges. 24-year-old Talia Barnes and her, I think it's her boyfriend, Marcus Steve Manderson, 33 years old. And so the two of them appeared in summary court. They were arrested on last week on Thursday, charged on Saturday for possession of an unlicensed firearm and possession of unlicensed firearm, like the ammunition as well. Yeah. So some very serious charges. And
not worth it, people.
What's the point of that?
What's the point?
Yes.
Of what?
Having a firearm that's unlicensed. Go to the gun club and get licensed.
It's not about it.
Well, normally the people who go to the gun club can actually get a license.
Yeah.
And then the people that don't probably can't get one.
I mean, a lot of people don't know that. You can actually own a firearm in the Cayman Islands.
But there is a strict protocol to getting there. And that's why some of these people, because they will not be able to get there because of the background checks.
I understand.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of people just want to do whatever they want to do.
Yeah, I mean,
and that can't be the case.
It's just, I don't know, not bright, so, not smart to be messing around with that stuff.
So, are we getting closer to your Cayman Brack story?
Not quite.
Not quite.
I need to double check with the client on certain things.
All right.
Okay. Well, how about this?
Aaron's got something.
So now that they've changed the whole rules for 24-hour testing before you arrive here, right? Okay. So, my parents are coming on Saturday.
Mom and Paul.
Sorry.
Not mom and pa.
Stepdad. Yeah. Anyway,
Mom and
so
pa.
Paul and Paula are coming. I shouldn't say their names now. I might annoy someone and they'll put them on a blacklist. No, they won't. No. So I'm trying my hardest now. My mom's freaking out because she's like, no, I can't find anywhere that will get me a test within 24 hours. So they leave Saturday. They have to get the test done on Friday. Now they're freaking out thinking it had to be because they fly out of Tampa at 3. So they're trying to organize their test at 3. So it is 24 hours before they fly to Cayman. Like, no. I talked to someone at Travel Time and they said it just has to be the day before. Right, Sandy?
Well, 24 hours would include, up to the day before.
Well, that's the thing. They travel. They have to be at the airport on Saturday morning, 5 a.m. for their flight at 7 a.m., which means they need to get it done very early on Friday morning if they have any glimmer of hope of even receiving those test results before they get to the gate in Tampa.
Yeah.
Now, this is the other thing.
Fly in on Saturday.
Yeah. So I called around to a plethora of places in Boise, Idaho, who barely even acknowledges that COVID is a real thing. So I'm going around trying to find, and everyone laughed in my face. No one really knows what lateral flow tests, and these are people that administer these tests. So anyway, in the end, I'm like, I called travel time like 3 times yesterday. I just was so, and then one person told me to call airports because they'll do testing at airports. They don't do testing at airports.
Yeah.
Like it's not like Tampa didn't do it, but Boise was helpful. And they did say, the airport did say there's one place. So I think I figured out, but this is what I'm having to do because there is one place, but it's $300 a person to get express PCR tests.
In the US.
Yes, which is ridiculous. You could not be asking people to spend all this money flying here and blow $600 on one test just so they get it in time.
I think we're actually ahead of the curve here in Cayman. You can get a test same day.
Yeah, someone has just made a point. Sorry, one of our avid listeners said in the US they're calling it an antigen test. So maybe you're just asking for the wrong thing.
I said everything. The thing is it just depends state to state. Idaho is not one of those states that really they've made it difficult for people to just, go about taking care of their own, they not only do they not want to take the vaccine, they don't want you to take the vaccine kind of thing. And it's kind of, so it's kind of like some of those people, obviously not everyone there, because I'm from Idaho and I'm very liberal. Anyway, but I digress. So let's move on.
You're liberal?
No one would know that.
Come on.
So, so anyway, so I'm just trying to figure this out. So what they are having to do now is they're doing a test in the morning at like the Walgreens, which they said they could get it back in 24 hours possibly, but it's never for sure. Then they have another one in the afternoon at a place that says that they can walk out with the test results, which I'm assuming that's the antigen. So they are going to do 2 COVID tests in one day.
And how much? Is it still $300?
I think Medicare will care.
Urgent care?
Medicaid. What's the one? No, Medicare is what Paul's on now.
Okay.
Yeah. So that will cover one of them. I don't know about the urgent care. I don't know how much it's going to cost, but it's like just to get, at least if you get 2 different sets of results in, hopefully they're back by the time you travel and then, you're secure. But I mean, it's very, 24 hours is a lot of pressure and it's very hard to do. And so I really just, want people out there to understand that yesterday was painful. I mean, my mom was like having breakdowns thinking she's not going to get on the plane. I'm trying to calm her down while I'm also having a breakdown on the phone with travel time. And so anyway, it's very stressful, especially right before Christmas when you haven't seen your family for over 2 years almost. It's like, it's just not fair.
Yeah.
And then you want them to come here and then start testing too. I get testing, but it's just 24 hours is really, really hard.
Yeah. It's hard if you're in a place where they don't do it in 24 hours.
Yeah. What if they lived in the middle of nowhere and like they really, and traveling and travel time to the other place is 12 hours in a car?
Hopefully, unfortunately, this is what it is. Yesterday, Trinidad reported its first case of the Omicron variant. So it's getting ever closer. And the UK reported its first death from an Omicron positive individual. So I think
with Omicron, not from Omicron, right?
Sorry.
With Omicron or from Omicron?
I didn't quite get that question, Erin. Sorry.
Right. With Omicron or from Omicron?
I'll double check.
There's a big difference. Yeah, because there's a big difference between the two.
So here's the thing on Omicron. The variant is substantially more contagious and reduces the effectiveness of the COVID-19 vaccines. Yeah. This is new information coming out of South Africa. The variant, they say, Omicron accounts for 90% of the COVID-19 cases now in South Africa. So it's a growing problem in Europe. They've seen it in at least 30 U.S. states, although the Delta variant still dominates the American outbreak. Here's what's interesting. The new study from Discovery Health, South Africa's largest private health insurer, shows that 2 shots of the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine, which provided over 90% of protection against infection with the original version, is only 33% effective against Omicron.
Okay. But what about Pfizer, with the booster?
Now with the booster, Pfizer says that takes it back up.
There you go.
So
do we know back up to what? Do we have any idea?
Well, to the original? Or to like 60?
Other research from Pfizer suggests that a 3rd booster shot can restore the original levels of protection, at least for some period of time.
Yeah.
So full vaccination continues to provide 70% protection against severe disease, which seemed to hold up across high-risk groups. though it declined somewhat in people over 60 and even more so in those over 70.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, unfortunately, this is the time that we're living in right now. And I think that we just gotta, what can you do? I mean, if you're traveling, if Aaron, like Aaron said, you're in the middle of nowhere, but most people who are in the middle of nowhere are not taking a direct flight. So that's good news, because that means that they probably have to fly through a major hub. So there might be more access to some testing facilities if they're coming through a major hub. But again, like you said,
not with time frame. They have 3 legs. So they go Boise, Denver, and Tampa. And they have short period. They have to basically run Denver's airport. I don't know if you guys have ever been there, but if you're flying in from a smaller airport, like Boise, Idaho would be, you're on the opposite end of the terminal. And so you've got to get a mile away from that side to the other side. And then, so they have no time there. Then they get to Tampa and they barely have any time. They don't have time to leave the airport, go find a place to test, come back and catch a flight, and they're not going to get the results back in that time. So honestly, it just would be nice if it couldn't be like maybe Thursday evening that they could do the test. So they have all Friday to possibly get the results back. And then, maybe not 72 hours, but maybe
it's going to work out, Aaron.
35 hours.
It's going to work out.
It is, Aaron. Trust me. It is.
Listen,
here's something interesting.
I just want my mom here, guys.
She'll be here. Do you remember how you were talking the other day about somebody who said they got COVID, so they need to be vaccinated? Weren't you saying that the other day?
That what?
They were like, I don't need to get a vaccine because I got it already.
Yeah,
so
I was like, please don't talk to me about this. Because
so Omicron appears to be able to reinfect people who've had an earlier disease variant. Those infected longer ago with early variants are at a higher risk now of reinfection. So there you go. People infected in South. What's that?
Because of the new variant.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Now here's some good news: is that children infected with Omicron. There's been some. Let's see, where is it about kids here? Let me find this. That they seem to be resisting Omicron as well. So that is good. Young children.
Good.
So that continues. Oh, here we go. Children continue to show a relatively low rate of infection with Omicron as they have with earlier variants, according to the study. So that is good news.
I mean, it's been pretty much, kids have had it. You've gone through it, Sandy. I know other children. It's harder on the older you get and the underlying conditions that hopefully you don't just find out about.
By the way, the vaccination clinic opens today at its new location. And it's 12:30 to 4 and then 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. today.
That's good.
That's
don't forget
behind the Foster's Airport.
Yeah.
Yes. McLennan Drive, I think is what it's called. And if you are traveling, remember now that you're going to be paying for your own test as well. So the government will no longer carry the cost of that. For those of you who are leisure traveling, you might want to add that to your budget.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the other thing. So on top of the money that you're going to spend on the test here, you also have to get an express test back wherever you're coming from if you need it within 24 the 1 day 24-hour time frame. So that's as much as a plane ticket.
It can be for sure. All right, Sandy, thanks for those headlines, and we'll let you get to your show live on Facebook and YouTube. We'll see you tomorrow.
All right, guys, have a good one.
All right, you too.
Okay, folks, thank you. Good morning. Who do we have tuned in? Evelyn is here, first one out of the barn. On the click. Are you watching on your keyboard, on your phone, Evelyn, or are you like on a computer? Despel, good morning to you. Marshall, good morning. Evelyn says season's greetings to all. Pleasant good morning to Blake and Aaron. Buenos dias to Miss Elizabeth. Alice, good morning. Chantal, so good to see you. Junior, thank you for tuning in. Miss Lily, sending you lots of love. Robert has got it locked. Good morning. Lavana says 1 day. So it's 1 day, not 24 hours. What's the difference? Is 1 day more than 24 hours? Do explain to me. Because to me, 1 day is 24 hours before. Chantel says that's a problem. No one can get a test that fast. There has to be people that, especially with the antigen test, that are able to get it. I mean, if Cayman can do it in a couple hours, surely these other jurisdictions with bigger resources and everything can do it. Virtuous, good morning. Tracy's here. Diamond Princess says, terrific Tuesday morning, everyone. Good morning to the ever lovely Carla. How are you? Marshall says, practically every state here in the U.S. has the Omicron variant. Yeah, I'm not surprised. Siobhan, hello, says, loving the Christmas look. So my Christmas border only works when I have a guest on. So we do have some guests coming on at 8:30. So we'll cue it back up then. So yes, that's awesome. Thank you guys so much. So Miss Maria says 24 hours is ridiculous. At least make it 48 since they get tested again as soon as they arrive. Actually, they don't. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but they don't get tested on arrival. So it's hard to keep up with all of the rules and my gosh, you know, what's happening. So we'll go through some of those things, I think, today, because it does, like, things are constantly changing, right? And so, yeah, there's that difficulty. So the RCIPS, one of their members, will be joining us at 8:30 today to discuss road safety. And, you know, the RCIPS actually sent out a notice on, I think it was Friday. It was the 8th. Was Friday the 8th? No, that was Wednesday. Was it Wednesday? Basically saying, oh, yes, they sent out this notice about this video that had been in circulation, basically reminding people that it is an offense to circulate and to share such videos. And they also sent out on Friday a reminder, and I think it was like a thank you by extension for all the officers and members of the DPP's office who worked tirelessly to bring Freddie Diaz to justice. He's the child porn guy who got convicted last week. And you know, they were, sorry, give me 1 second. They were just saying, you know, reminding people once again that those types of things are an offense. In case you didn't know. You know, there's so many reasons why you should never do that, but in case you missed the memo of having a good moral fiber, then yes. So, yep. All right. Let me see here. Just having a look at some other bits and pieces. Tracy says if it's positive and they can't fly, they're reimbursed by the airlines. Do all airlines have that policy, by the way? If you're flying from the Philippines and it's over 24 hours, what happens to those that take the flight? Well, this is actually a really good question because somebody asked me this question over the weekend. A Filipino person, Filipino national, said, this is really difficult for us. And I totally get it. Trust me. Because some flights are like a day long. So I'm assuming, though, that it's a day before you start the journey, as opposed to 24 hours before you land. Because obviously you can't take the test on the plane, right? Although, having thought about this for a minute, these airlines could probably add to their revenue by doing these antigen tests on the flights. What would be involved in that? Because you're all there. Although, no, because most of them are still going to require a test to get on the flight, right? Are most American airline companies requiring, Kevin, are you paying attention this morning? Are most American companies actually requiring a test to get on a plane? I know the US last week, we need to look at, oh God, the COVID stuff is changing by the minute. Like, I'm trying to remember what Biden did. So I think for Biden, both vaccinated and unvaccinated people now have to test. And I believe, well, I know you have to wear a mask. Did they put anything in place for testing before you get on the flight? So it might be, if you're going through an American airline, I think it's probably a done deal anyway. I don't know specifically what they're going to be doing in terms of international travel, because every country's got something, a little bit different. So yesterday evening, England set to drop all 11 countries from the coronavirus travel red list. So that's the latest news coming out of the UK. And just reading some other headlines. Pfizer says COVID drug offers strong protection and could work against Omicron. So of course, everyone is trying to develop a pill, something that's a little bit easier to take, that you can only take in the early stages of a COVID infection. But so far, the results seem to be very, very positive. China reports its first case of Omicron as well. So there's that news. We don't have any confirmed cases in the Cayman Islands yet, but like I said earlier, Trinidad now has its first case. The world reached a landmark yesterday. Did you guys see this article in CMR? Where the world now has, I think it's 8.5 billion people vaccinated. It's a start, but believe it or not, we got a long ways to go, honey. So it's not as many as you think. But the great news for local people is we finally reached that 80%. That was the target goal of the PAC government. And in fact, it could very well be over 80% because some early figures coming in from the census is that our population may not be that 70,000 plus that we were thinking. So that's good news. It could be 81 or 82% by the time the census is done, confirming how many people we have. And of course, the census isn't an exact science because it really is dependent on people participating. So in the US, they have more than 50 million total coronavirus cases. Wow. Sad situation. Oh God, the pictures and stuff that they show. Here's a photo of Terry Richards. He's 66 years old. Let me show you guys this. It's really heart-wrenching, and I keep saying this because I think that, good morning, Miss Sue and Sonia, that we have been so far removed from the effects of the coronavirus, right? Only recently have we had, a few people die, but look at this couple. Isn't this sad? He's 66 years old. Terry Reynolds is his name. And poor Terry is sitting at the bedside of his wife. No doubt they've probably been married for donkey years. Carolyn, she's 69 and in the South 7 intensive care unit of North Memorial Hospital in Minnesota. They're both unvaccinated against the coronavirus. Hate to say it, but she probably doesn't look like she's going to make it out of there. My goodness. And chances are he'd probably catch it too, poor thing. So the total number of known coronavirus cases in the United States surpassed 50 million on Monday. This is according to the New York Times database. Here's something they make an interesting point. 50 million can be a difficult number to grasp. It's more than the combined populations of Georgia, Michigan, North Carolina, and Ohio. It's more than the entire population of Spain. And it's nearly 18 times the number of dollars an American college student can expect to earn in a lifetime. Well, definitely, we know that much. And I'm earning those kind of coins around here. But is that not crazy? Wow. What a hot mess. Jared, I see you. Just give me a minute. And they all say that it's actually a substantial undercount of cases, since most infected people many infected people have no symptoms or mistake them for some other illness, and not everyone gets tested. So to say nothing of the huge shortage of available tests in the early weeks of the pandemic. True. Daily reports of new cases, which fell steadily in the early autumn, have been rising sharply in the last few weeks as the prevalent Delta variant continues to spread, especially in the Midwest, Southwest, and New England. And of course, much remains unknown about the worrisome new Omicron variant. Hospitalizations and deaths have started to rise as well, says the experts, right before the holidays and winter weather. So they say the increases and Omicron may have helped prompt more vaccinations, because more than one quarter of the population has still not received even one dose, and about 61% are fully vaccinated. So the US really isn't a good example. Over 796 people in the US have died, more than that. Again, a toll unfathomable to most Americans when the pandemic began. That's also a lot of people. So they're pushing the million number mark. It's crazy. Look at this poor little couple. What a mess. Kim Anion messaged me today to say that her mummy is in the hospital from COVID here in Cayman. She is in her 70s, I believe, unvaccinated, and 72 years old, unvaccinated. She's in isolation, and they're treating her for clots on her lungs, which is one of the things you get from COVID. So far she's doing okay in terms of saturation level, so she doesn't need any supplemental oxygen. And when I said, well, why isn't she vaccinated, this person, I won't say what they say. I mean, it wasn't that mean. This person's obviously family, but they basically said that she doesn't have a real reason that makes any kind of sense. And this is so frustrating and unnecessary. Wow. So they say new tech, get the J&J, not fully tested, millions are not dead, and it's more than a year. Then she says, leave me alone. I'm not doing it. And the Lord knows why. I have good reasons. So this family member said they just stopped fighting her and life is too short. So she's still plugged into the religious and other outlets that send out poor messaging. The churches don't have a good reputation for getting people to get vaccinated, which is unfortunate. I heard that there's a church, and I think it's a church in Swamp, that tells people to get lateral flow tested every week before coming to church, but then they send an anti-vaccination message. And I think to myself, what is wrong with you people? Oh, just get lateral flow tested. We want to know if you get COVID, but don't take the vaccine to give yourself any kind of protection. Aliano, Sonia, Tracy says if it's mandatory, it should be free. What's that? If what's mandatory? To get a COVID test, but it's not mandatory for people to travel. So I think the stark reality is the government has spent millions of dollars on the COVID situation, and the government doesn't have that kind of money to keep pumping into it. So I think people can find money for an airline ticket. They can go on vacations. And I think I shared the story with you guys maybe last week, that I had someone messaging me, ask me for the vaccine schedule. And I know this person I believe she has lupus and high blood pressure and diabetes and all kind of stuff. And I was like, girl, you're not vaccinated? And she was like, oh yeah, I need to get it done. Plus I need to travel soon. So your reason for getting vaccinated is you want to take a friggin' shopping trip to Miami. Or maybe she needs medical care, which I guess she hasn't gotten in 2 years. I don't know. But regardless, I'm like, so a shopping trip has motivated you to get vaccinated and not the right reasons? Sky, good morning. Good morning, Catherine. Miss Rita, buenos dias. Roderick is here. Jared says different countries aren't doing antigen tests. They're specifically asking for PCR testing. Well, I don't know. Like I said, you've got to, if you're going to travel, you have to know that, a lot is subject to change. So even in the UK, folks, let me see what they're doing, because they started something. Have they started their new testing regime as yet? So they were doing something starting, I want to say yesterday, but I'm gonna double check. Let me just double check what their COVID response has been. Yeah, but they've also been changing a few things as it relates to COVID. So let's bring Jared in while I'm looking for that. Lots of news has been happening. There was that huge tornado over the weekend. Good morning, Jared.
Morning. Nice to see you.
What's up? Let it snow. Hold on. Let's bring on some snow while you're here. Look at that. Woo!
Yeah. So the thing that I want to bring up is the reduction in time from the 72 hours to 24 hours, which takes effect on December the 17th, 2021. Yes. It's not a question, but why shorten it? Is it to kind of like mitigate people from traveling, so to speak? Because for people who are, in Northern America, we all know no flight is under 24 hours, to be honest. So if you're traveling, let's say December the 19th, you probably won't get into Cayman until like the 20th of December. So if it was 36 hours at least, or, if there's more flexibility with 36 hours, more could be done as for 24 hours, because then the person is going to have to get an additional test, right? And so it is what it is, but whoever gave the advice, I guess, had good reason, but it's kind of restricting people a bit for those who want to return home for the holidays, see family, things like that. So that isn't something that is really exciting for me, but it is what it is at the end of the day. And also to that, not every country is doing, I guess, antigen testing. That's how Cayman is doing it. It's understandable if you're doing it within Cayman. However, if you are traveling internationally, airlines like American Airlines, Air Canada, WestJet, British Airways, and the rest, they're asking for PCR test, which is it's a fancy name for polymer something. Yeah, but no antigen testing. And you have to ensure that you get the results for that prior to the flight. So there's a lot of hurdles that you have to navigate at the end of the day when trying to travel.
Yes, without a doubt, Jared, this is one of the difficult things right now, which personally, I am not about doing any non-essential travel. And for me, non-essential means, if it's not an emergency, basically, I'm not going anywhere. Because there's just so much, it's just crazy. It's just crazy. Long lines at the airport, security. There are people who want to go back to normal very, very quickly. So they want to be able to jump on a plane, shop in Miami in the morning, come back that night. That kind of thing really isn't possible at the moment, I would say. So I think people need to know, yes, travel is freer, and you can certainly go and visit family and friends, but there are certain restrictions that are going to be put in place that you have to deal with. And here's the thing, Jared, anything can happen when you travel and anything can change. So say, for example, even though you get that 24-hour test, you come in, you test negative, When you get here
You be
within, say,
positive.
day 2 and 5, whatever, it's entirely possible for you to test positive.
Okay.
And then you might be stuck in a country for a couple of weeks. So
Yeah.
make sure you think about all of the potential outcomes of traveling and getting stuck somewhere. So Lavana does a good job of explaining the difference. She says the 24 hours that I'm thinking is more restrictive. If you take the test, for example, at 10 a.m. before it's up 10 a.m. the next day, one day doesn't matter what time you took it, if that makes any sense. So if the flight is at 5. So I just listened to your voice note as well, Lavana, and I do get what you're saying. So basically she's saying that, listen, if you took it at 10 in the morning and then the following day your flight is at 3 or 5 o'clock, that's still considered one day, which technically it's not within the 24 hours. So you still have the ability to travel without an issue. And I've got another listener from the ministry who's also saying, just to be clear, it's not 24 hours before traveling. It is one day. And that's an important difference. So hopefully we've explained that. And I think that's good to know because I'm just trying to clarify.
Well, they should have outlined that specifically because not everybody reads their cabinet reports, which is why there's a lot of information floating around.
Yeah. I'm going to just double check actually the article that we put up because I want to make sure that point.
Also, you said you had your little fancy people, police come in. I had a series of questions for them because their report is in terms of the questions that I have.
Well, they're only here, to be clear now, today is road safety. So these are not probably these are not going to be people that you need to be asking questions of, which are the management and RCIPS.
It's very interesting because I did see when that commissioner had to show up and he was talking about resources and money, and that's all nice and well. But I do know they give money to the RCIPS every year. However, there still seems to be spikes in accidents happening every week, which is concerning. It doesn't look good if people who aren't being shot, but your likelihood of being in an accident is likely higher. We need to combat that, and the excuse of saying not enough people, not enough resources, it doesn't work. We need to understand what. Well,
how do you? I mean, they're coming on within half an hour. Let me just read a few more comments before I ask you a question about that. Pablo says, with limited airlift, it's not possible to arrive here from around the region in most of North America without an overnight stay in Miami.
That's true.
Most layovers are 16 to 20 hours. It's not possible to get a 12-hour layover. Yes. Tracy makes the point, but if you're in transit and you're taking multiple flights, you're exposed, which is a good point.
Yeah.
So do you need multiple tests?
Better to be safe than sorry.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you walk around with your own lateral flow test as well.
Yeah.
And that's why I think they have the lateral flow testing procedure in place, knowing that there's still that possibility that you could come in negative at the onset, and then, by day 3 or 4, you actually develop COVID. You would have already had it, but so Sue makes the point that's costing money. Yes, it is. I mean, I've got a stack of lateral flow tests here that I purchased when somebody had a sale. I'm not using any right now, but I stocked up just in case. When the price is good, buy about 50 of those things. Good morning, Cecil. So good to see you. Thank you so much. Says keep up the wonderful work. Miss Sue says my hubby and I are older and we're very lucky. I think she's talking about that couple there. You don't give yourself a fighting chance if you don't get vaccinated, though. I mean, people, come on, at this point. I think the numbers are very, very clear that vaccination helps significantly. Some 90-something% of people in the hospital are unvaccinated, and the people who were dying, except for one person, have all been unvaccinated. So keep that in mind. And what killed that person wasn't COVID. That was cancer, so. Marshall says a lot of older people are still unvaccinated, and they tend to be Republicans. Don't die over politics, folks. It's not worth it. Tracy says my family Sue says to Tracy, my family just came from the UK again. Their sons are here, and it's a big money-making business. Well, it's costing. Let me say this in terms of everything COVID related. It's costing money to do everything in relation to COVID. So the airlines have an added expense. Governments have an added expense. So I think that for people to not recognize that this will have a trickle down effect on them is probably not entirely realistic, and that's why everybody who says to me, oh, this whole COVID thing was a conspiracy. I'm like, well, what's the conspiracy? Killing off the populations of the world for no good reason? Making us all pay for this through our governments for like no good reason. This can't be a situation where the drug manufacturers develop COVID because everyone is suffering on a whole because of this whole situation. So Lavana says that she agrees with charging people who want to travel, make it free for a person traveling for medical treatment. Yes, I think if it's an essential travel situation, then that might be different. Good morning, Ms. K. Thank you so much. Leslie Maria says, I thought the government said that the vaccines were a gift from England, no cost. Well, it's not the vaccines they're going to charge you for, it's testing. So if you travel, you'll be tested. But let me address that question. No cost to us. There's always a cost somewhere down the pipeline. So someone, Maria, is paying for the vaccines. They don't come for free. Pfizer is not in the business of giving stuff away for free. They may make it affordable, but everything comes at a cost, folks. Somebody's going to pay for it. And when your government is paying for it, you don't see the immediate cost of it. But allow me to reassure you that that cost will trickle down to you, the people, when you pay taxes or something else. So let's just take a quick commercial break. Jared, hang tight. We'll be right back after these messages.
Looking for the perfect gift for your loved ones? Why not give them the gift of Reliable Supplies? That's right. Reliable Supplies offers beautiful custom gift baskets with the products of your choice. We carry a wide range of cleaning and disinfecting products and gift certificates to fill your Christmas gift baskets. Gift certificates are ideal for any of our products or cleaning and industrial services. The perfect gift for your loved ones is the perfect gift from Reliable Supplies. Custom gift baskets with your favorite Reliable products. Contact Reliable Supplies for your gift baskets and gift certificates for the holiday season at 949-9303 or visit us at 313 Compass Drive, conveniently located off North Sound Road.
All right, folks. Big shout out to Prodigy Jewelers because guess what? Today is David's birthday. Happy birthday to David Ebanks, the owner of Prodigy Jewelry Designs and Repairs. Over 30 years, this man has been in business and crafting, or I should say, perfecting his craft. And man, he makes some beautiful pieces. So this was the day that he called me and said, I got a little something for you. Come and see me. And anytime David says that to me, I get excited because every lady in your life likes a little jewelry here and there. So David custom made, you guys might remember this, but he custom made this beautiful CMR pendant for me. Oh my gosh, it is so gorgeous. I even don't want to wear it because it's so special, right? I always wear, as you guys see, my coat of arms. I mean, the coat of arms is really near and dear to my heart, probably more than CMR because that's country first, right? But yes, it is David's birthday today. I promised him I wouldn't tell anybody how young he is, but still young and spry. So happy birthday. If you see David, if you've got him on Facebook, send him a big shout out on WhatsApp. Let him know that you saw his birthday greeting in CMR this morning. And we're wishing him many, many, many more to come. So, Jared, you're still there. Good morning to Miss Anna.
Yes, I'm still here, Sunday.
Jean Scott says you can get rapid flow tests to go to Cayman Brac and Little Cayman. So Lavana says, why is it a problem when Cayman changes it to 1 day and the US is doing it in other places as well? I don't hear anyone complaining. Well, they might be complaining, but nobody cares. Nobody's listening to them is the bottom line. When Americans start complaining, their president is like, get with it. Just do it. Vaccines are still free and provided by the UK, Philip reminds us. Tests for non-essential travel have to be paid for. The government pays for these, not free from the UK. Yeah. And remember, we have just spent a considerable amount of money even on trying to get lateral flow tests to provide to school-aged children, which continue to be free. Folks, millions of dollars have now been spent on lateral flow tests. So you've got to understand. I keep telling y'all there's no such thing as a free meal. I don't know where you grew up. Your mama told you she feeding you for free. She had expectations of you. She might have been feeding you and not saying, give me $5 for this meal, but she still expected you to go to school, to do your best. Because one day, you're going to be becoming a productive member of society and all these other things. That's why your parents invest in you. So if anyone might give you something for free, maybe it's your parents. I don't know. So Tracy says, in other countries, drunk driving is a federal offense. Oh, yeah. So we'll get to road safety and stuff here in a minute. We do have our guests that are coming on. Nald says, I think the LFT, if you would take it by yourself, won't be accepted because per regulations, yes. So there are registered centers, folks, and I think there's a list of them. For example, Total Health on West Bay Road. I think they're one of the only in that sort of further out West Bay corridor. So if you're here visiting and you're living on, Sunma Beach area, West Bay Road, go and check them out. Tell them Sandy said hi. So yeah, it's not the home lateral flow test that they're going to be accepting from you. And Lavana says, if you want to travel, you follow it's like any other travel rule, as far as I'm concerned, which have changed from time to time. Listen, post 9/11, travel rules changed a lot. We were really, really inconvenienced. Over the weekend, because I haven't traveled in a minute, when I was in Cayman Brac for that, 45 minutes, I said, okay, I had a Pepsi, which I wasn't really supposed to be drinking, but I was going to sneak a little Pepsi in the afternoon. And I was trying to go through security, but I didn't open it. So I'm thinking, but it's not open, surely it's safe. Like, how am I going to inject a bomb in a Pepsi? And they were like, no, you can't take that with you through security. I was like, what? I thought it was just open containers. And then they're like, no, but I couldn't remember because it's been a minute, right? So I sat down, cranked open my Pepsi, and I said, how many minutes I got? All right, I'm going to enjoy my Pepsi and my burger that I had to wait 25 minutes for. So Nicholas says, as long as you can take the test the day before you travel, it doesn't matter what time. Good. So I think we're all crystal clear on that. Any news on the vaccine for the younger ones? Not in Cayman as yet. So Lavana reminds us that government has been paying the bill. Everywhere is charging. Only Cayman has been free for all this time. And it has to stop. We're going to feel it in the end. Trust me. And most persons traveling are not Caymanians. Well, actually, not quite, Let me get you guys some figures from last week. So these are dated a little bit. I meant to do an article on this because I think it's interesting to know who's traveling. So as of, this is a FOI question that I sent in last week. So let me just see here now. When did I get this information? I think Miss Martha sent this to me. So this was Miss Martha. She's like the FOI person for Customs and Border Control. and they're the ones who actually keep track of this. The numbers are kind of interesting since stage 4 reopening. So basically, oh God, where is it? Oh, right. So for the period of November the 20th through the end of November, so it is a little bit dated. You know, they need time to put their figures together. Who were travelers? Residents accounted for 2,276 persons traveled, and visitors only accounted for 1,596. And a visitor is defined as a tourist, person visiting family, or persons who may have property here, international students, and persons here on short business trips. So in actuality, the residents were outpacing. I mean, I don't know if that's been updated in the last week and a half, but the residents have been outpacing everybody else in terms of travel. So that's kind of interesting. You know, y'all look like you were cooped up and happy to jump in a plane finally. So yes, happy birthday to David. Now, Jared, stick a pin. Sophia, I don't understand that message. I don't know if that was meant for us or not, or if you're in the wrong convo. But I got a little nugget this morning about a politician who has purchased a piece of property. And when I looked at the purchase, I thought to myself, this looks awfully interesting. So let me show you all this this land. Because I always think to myself, when you're a politician, there's probably certain things that you shouldn't do. And, you know, you don't, it's like when you go to court, the court always says, come to court with clean hands, right? So in other words, you don't lie to the court, you don't make stuff up. You know, you should be honest, you should have an honest intent, and so on. And when you don't, and the court finds out that you don't, it's kind of like the John Felder situation. His hands were not clean at all. And his lawyers they say it was a mistake, but procedurally they did certain things wrong, and the court went, you can't get, what's that quote, Jared, about ill-gotten fruit, the seed of your fruit or whatever, you know?
I don't know the quote off of the top of my head.
You know, but you know which one I mean, right? So you can't bear the fruit of ill-gotten gain or whatever that saying is.
Yes.
So in other words, you know, you can't enjoy good things out of something bad that you did. That is normally just not acceptable in the world, right? And I think that politicians in particular should be really, really mindful of the things that they do in their tenure, because they have access to information that maybe a lot of us don't have. And I'm going to show you what I mean here in a second. And when they make certain decisions, they invest in certain businesses, they take on certain business partners, they buy property. All these things, you know, always raise a bit of a, it's kind of like insider trading, but on the political level, right? It always raises a bit of a red flag. So tell me, Jared, have a look at this. This is a map of a piece of property that is owned by none other than Alden McNee McLaughlin. Parcel 58A25. Now, it looks like a decent piece of land, too, I must say. And you see where it says Frank Sound Road? Okay. And this is going to run along part of the east-west arterial, the extension of the east-west arterial highway. Now, Jared, you got to give me your opinion on this, because here's the next slide that I'm going to bring up. When do you think this property was purchased?
I think it was probably recently.
Otherwise, you wouldn't be talking about it. So here we go. Look, purchased July of 2020. What is this all about? That's very recent. That's just last year, a couple months ago. This kind of makes the skin, not the skin, but the hair on the back of my neck stand up, because I'm thinking, you're purchasing property in what will be what you know because of extensions that government has approved and the exact location of that east-west arterial. You know that the value in this property is going to quadruple in no time at all. So you have that bit of insider information. So you grab up some property. So you can either flip it and make a good return on your money, or you're going to be doing like a former political colleague of yours, actually, throw up some nice apartments in what will be an extremely lucrative area now, because everybody's going to want to live close to that bypass. Does this make you uncomfortable at all, Jared, or you think this is much to do about nothing?
I think it has much to do with nothing. However, it is quite what's the word? It just looks very convenient for the time. But to be fair, he did put in 8 years of service, and so
So he can rape the country because he put in 8 years of service.
No, I think I can't speak for the honorable member from Red Bay, but he can do what he wants with his money. As long as it doesn't cause any demise, in my opinion. Everybody's free to buy their own property.
So you think? Let me ask you this question, and we're going to be bringing in our guests here shortly. I see them in the back studio, so we'll give them a few minutes. Do you think that if I'm a politician and I know certain things, certain government plans, right? Mm-hmm. Say, for example, I knew government was going to introduce lateral flow testing as mandatory, whatever, and I run out and become a partner in lateral flow tests. You think that would be okay?
I think it looks a bit suspicious. However, I would say it's not any different from Speaker Pelosi, who buys a bunch of stocks and is the Speaker of the United States Congress. But the politicians are known.
No, but if she was in a position to be making decisions about those stocks, that would be what's defined as insider trading, and she'd go to jail for that.
True, but she is privy to the meetings as to what would go on. Because if you look at how she buys the stocks or whatever, it is really close to when the market is doing really good and when it's not doing bad. Two separate situations. But in this case, with the honorable member from Red Bay, it would have to be a question. I think Miss Sandy, politicians, they do work hard. We have to give them that. They do have lives.
But they also get paid handsomely.
They're
working hard, but they're not working for free.
That's true, and it seems, and it does come with certain benefits and perks. But this would be a question for Premier Panton to say, okay, well, should there be certain guidelines for when politicians come into office, and saying that they can buy property if it had to, because he's going to have to declare this in the House of Parliament, as a matter of fact, because each member of Parliament has to declare certain things that they have. So it will have to be recorded. But in terms of saying, should politicians be allowed to buy property or based off certain decisions?
For me, it's not a question of should they be allowed to buy property, but this does raise my eyebrow, given the location of the property and what we know is happening in that area. So
this road here is where the West Arterial is supposed to be running along.
Yes, honey child.
Because I was looking at it differently still.
Yeah. But listen, I think the bottom line is this, Jared, and we're gonna let you go unless you want to stay on with the road safety folks.
No, I want to hear what the road safety people got.
Oh, you have some questions for road safety? All right. So I think the truth of the matter is, Jared, politicians have access to a lot of things, including information of certain things that are coming down the pipeline. And I think they should always work extra hard to keep their hands clean, because the very nature of politics means that you can get your hands dirty. And there's so many temptations, and we see that happening right here in the Cayman Islands. There's a few ex-politicians who, if you listen to what the streets have to say about them, they actually have a reputation for having their hands out when a deal is going to get inked. They're like, I need some kickback money. to put in the bank or to invest in other things, and they start up all sorts of businesses. That's when they come out of politics, they then become
consultants and the
yeah.
So
Like,
yeah, I think
working hard and being a politician came out as one thing,
mm-hmm.
but it doesn't give you access to be to spend the rest of your life being cushy and hardly working. And
I think there would be good legislation to say when you leave office, the information that you have been provided with cannot be used for your personal gain. I think a law
not even when you leave office, that should be when you're in office as well. You shouldn't be able to use insider information to benefit financially. But anyway, just my thoughts on it.
No, I see what you're saying. It look fishy.
So Marshall says not all of them work hard and they still get a hefty salary. That's true. Andrew's opinion is the road will benefit GCM for the better and worse. And something is fishy, just like everything in the Cayman Islands. Not everything is fishy. So Miss Watler, who is he to you? Which Miss Watler? I don't know who you're talking about. Nicholas says much to do but nothing, ? CC says that's what the raise was for, to pay for that new piece of land. I don't know. Okay. All right. So folks, we have road safety. We're waiting on the RCIPS rep to join us in the back studio. So why don't we, in the interim, just take a little commercial break, because of course our corporate sponsors make this show possible. So big shout out to, oh, by the way, I have an update for you guys. Remember yesterday we were talking about the baby that was left in the vehicle. So I did reach out to the RCIPS, inquire on what the situation was there. And they said that she has been warned. So she's received a warning. And apparently there is this was their wording, which I did send a clarifying email. They said that the mother was issued a warning and a joint agency response has been put in place, which is now RCIPS and DCFS. So I don't know what a joint agency response actually means. Does that mean that someone is going to be checking in on the welfare of this mother and child on a regular basis to make sure that she's coping okay and that everything is, okay with the child? I'm not really sure. But then we got this video yesterday about the health and safety of our children. Timely indeed. So let's have a quick look at this video.
Each day, my staff and I work hard to ensure the health and safety of every child entrusted within our care during these extraordinary times.
In so doing, we continue to adapt to changing circumstances.
Implement the safety protocols outlined in the COVID-19 guidance for educational institutions and follow the advice of our public health officials.
I realize that the recent COVID-19 cases in our school have heightened your concerns about your children's safety, and rightfully so.
As such, I welcome your continued partnership as we work to ensure the health and safety of our school community.
I urge you, talk with your children about physical distancing, proper hand washing, and respiratory hygiene, and the other safety measures.
And follow the advice of our public health officials, as I'm certain that we can all be more effective together.
So of course, the safety of our children should be our primary concern at all levels. And there are many, many people who are working hard to ensure that that happens. So sometimes it's, people in the schools, teachers who are alert and paying attention. Other times it is the police, it's the MASH unit, it's other agencies. So let's do our parts, folks, as parents, because of course the MASH unit is a combination of more than one government agency working really for the safety, to try to ensure the safety of children, and also to make sure that cases that are brought forward are actually properly prosecuted and so forth, because it's really important for them to get these types of prosecutions under their belt to send a very clear message that certain behavior will not be tolerated. So big shout out to Reliable Industries and Home Gas. 'Tis the season, folks. to do a lot of different things. And I'm going to be contacting my East End people. Run out of beef already. Hello, if you've been waiting on your Cayman beef, let me tell you, don't wait too long. Every year this happens to me though. I feel like every year I'm like, okay, I'm going to start a little bit earlier. I still got a week and more, and they're like, oh, the beef done. The cows are watered, the beef cut up, it's all done. So I have to now go to my Georgetown crew to get some beef. So I'm going to be messaging them a little bit later on today to make sure that I secure my beef. I'm not doing as much in terms of volume of cooking this year because we'll have fewer people over, but we definitely got to have certain key things in a Cayman Christmas meal, and Cayman beef is definitely on the list, right?
Yep.
Yes, child. So I'm
Yes,
topping
sir.
up on my gas tank. You know, hubby already checked it. Make sure we got enough for me to do all my cooking. The worst thing in the world, folks, is to run out of gas in the middle of cooking. Woo! Especially on a holiday when nobody's coming out to rescue you.
Ho, ho, ho! I want to wish you a Merry Christmas. Don't make it a blue Christmas by delaying on ordering your propane for that Cayman beef and turkey. Be like the 3 wise men who rode through the night and prepare for the 12 days of Christmas. Hark! Propane makes all the herald angels sing. Feliz Navidad. Contact Home Gas early for your Christmas propane order at 949-7474.
Christmas time is about family, caroling, church services, and dirty dishes, cleaning floors, and power washing your house. Don't let the ghost of Christmas chores make you a Scrooge. Call Reliable Industries today for all of your house cleaning needs. Our professional services are perfect for Christmas time to let you forget the hassle of housework and focus on the important things, spending quality time with your family. Reliable Industries offers an array of gold standard residential home services, including professional house cleaning, window washing, pressure washing, HEPA filter cleaning, professional kitchen hood cleaning services, and more. A happy home is a healthy home, and there's no time like the holiday season to make your home the happiest. Don't forget that Reliable offers gift certificates and gift baskets for your loved ones. Call Reliable Industries today at 949-9303 to speak to a customer service rep to book your services. Reliable, serving the community for over 30 years with quality and pride.
All right, folks. We're going to go ahead and bring the, I'm aware that the RCIPS rep isn't here, but we'll start with Marianne. We've got a couple road safety videos that we're going to be talking about. So this time of year, I feel like tis the season for traffic accidents and stuff as well. It just happens, folks. I mean, more than ever. We may, theoretically have had fewer people on the roads, but I feel like the accidents just keep rolling on. And it's so incredibly sad to have a situation where there is any sort of loss of life leading up to the holiday season. So we've got Ms. Powery here, PC Officer Powery, who's going to be talking about road safety, as well as Marianne Pandui from the NRA, the National Roads Authority. And they're going to be sharing some expert tips with us. So Jared, I'm just going to pull you out. I know you've got some questions and stuff for these 2 young ladies, but we'll pull you out and then allow them to come onto the live stream and share some opening comments, and then we'll play some of the videos and go through some of the things that you really need to be focused on to keep yourself safe on the roadways. So good morning to Miss Marianne. How are you?
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. PC Power is also here. Good morning.
Hello.
Good morning, ladies. Good morning to your viewers as well.
Absolutely, looking fantastic. So do you have any idea, this is sort of a peculiar thing for me, but what happens this time of year that, why do we have an increase in car accidents? What's going on? Is it just that there are more people on the road? Are people just so busy out running errands and shopping that it just happens?
It's various things, unfortunately. It is an increase of people being out on the roads at various times. We are aware that businesses extend their hours during the Christmas season, and people are always in a rush to do their last minute shopping because they, like myself, we didn't start from September, October, November like everybody else. And so with the rush and the anxiety, it does tend to increase the vehicle accidents that occur on the roadway. But in addition to that as well, we know that there are various events that are kept over the holiday period. We know that like staff Christmas parties, the Christmas holiday events that are kept. And so we find that there are also, unfortunately, a lot of persons driving while they're under the influence of alcohol as well. Speeding has always been a major factor in a lot of our more serious collisions, and as well as the combination of speeding and drinking is also an issue. So it's various things. It's people not paying attention, as well as people driving while they're on their phones, or in other cases, ladies doing their makeup in traffic and not paying too close attention, on lunch break, eating and driving at the same time. It's just different things. And so I guess the major message is just to make sure that 100% of your attention is being given to driving when you're on the roadway.
Yes. And I mean, it's easy to get distracted. I must say that there are so many things that are vying for your attention when you're in a vehicle. You kids, sometimes you've got a baby in the back seat. You've got kids, talking to you and you're talking to them. Like you said, getting a phone call, even when you're hands free, I feel like mentally your mind is in that conversation. And sometimes I'll be driving, and I don't know if this happens to every driver, but I'm going to own up to this. I'll be driving, and I swear that if you said to me, okay, from this point in Savannah to this point, what did you notice? How many cars did you see pass you? What colors were they? I have no clue. Like, it's such an automated process as well. Like, I feel like my brain is just an autopilot mode, and I'm not really taking in my surroundings. Because there are times I'm like, I know I got from point A to point B, and I'm obviously driving, but I can't tell you nothing eventful happened. I can't really tell you much about the drive. So for me, Miss Jody Ann, I think a good part of it is trying to be present in your driving experience.
Absolutely.
Like, let that be your focus when you get behind the wheel.
Absolutely. And that's important because we also need to learn to drive defensively. We can't just drive for ourselves. We have to think about the person who is also coming and isn't paying attention, or is, drunk. And you have, as you say, your children in the back. They're your precious cargo. So you have to make sure that you're giving 100% of your attention to your driving. That way you can drive defensively and look out for the other person when they're not doing it for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just like to add on to that quickly, if you don't mind. We also have to remember that the fact that the drivers aren't the only ones on the road, and that we tend to forget that there's other people using the road, such as bicyclists and pedestrians and people walking their dogs, and there is more activity on the road, especially say on the West Bay Road on 7 Mile corridor. We watch the speed limits and remember that people are on that road and they're walking along the sidewalk, and be cognizant of the crosswalks that are coming across. Even if they're not blinking, be cognizant that people may start to cross the road. So you just got to be aware of your surroundings as well, and just pay attention to what you are doing.
Yes. And for those of you who don't know, this is Miss Marion Pandui. She's from the National Roads Authority. Now, Marion, you're actually a transportation planner.
Yes,
tell us a little bit about what that means.
Well, that's a good question. As to exactly what it means, I do a variety of things here at the National Roads Authority. My main focus is lately has been on road safety, or trying to be on road safety. Actually, it's been for a while. We've gone back and forth since Street Skills actually started back in 2006. We had a number of young deaths that year. So that's when I first started my journey into road safety. It's been an uphill battle. I will say that. And here at the NRA, we have tried to incorporate, because we've been told we just deal with roads. Well, we don't just deal with roads. We have been trying to incorporate other road users and within the roads to make them more safe for other road users, such as just as pedestrians or bike. We try and put bike lanes in where we can, or and pedestrian crossings where we can. And that's my main focus here at the National Roads Authority as of late. I do a variety of other things, as we all do at our jobs, but that's my main goal, is to get the word out about road safety and try to incorporate it within our designs here at the National Roads Authority, and work with the police in figuring out where we need to concentrate on.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, thank you very much for that. So let's watch a few videos. There are certain aspects, I feel, of driving in the Cayman Islands that are a little bit different and a little bit unique. So one of the things that causes some degree of confusion are roundabouts. I think probably the biggest reason for that is a lot of people around the world have not actually had any practical experience in dealing with a roundabout. So, I learned how to drive in the States when I was like 15, 16 years old, got my first driver's license there. Interstate driving, good with changing lanes and all this other stuff, parallel parking, all this kind of stuff. But I don't recall really being introduced to roundabouts until I moved back to the Cayman Islands. And then I felt like everywhere I went, there was a roundabout. And they can be a little bit confusing at times, especially when you have a multi-lane roundabout. So, we always post here all the traffic accidents that happen every day. The top 3 spots, without a doubt, is the A.L. Thompson's roundabout. Cayman Bay has risen recently to probably be in the top rank. A lot of accidents seem to be happening there. And then the Hurley's roundabout, I don't think as many accidents happen there, but I traverse that one every day and I see a lot of near misses. So let's watch a video, folks, about 3-lane roundabouts, and then maybe we could break it down a little bit further for our viewers on how, what lane are you supposed to be in when you're going in this direction and that direction, and how you really try to navigate the 3-lane roundabout a lot safer. So have a look at this video, folks.
The Esterly Tibbetts Highway 3-lane roundabout is ready for drivers. It's time to make sure you know how to use it. First, know which exit you need to take. Pay attention to lane arrows and signs. Make sure you use your signal to change lanes or exit the roundabout. To turn left, you always approach in the left-hand lane and indicate left. To drive straight ahead, you need to be looking out for signs and road markings indicating which lane to use. Get in one of the lanes marked with a straight-through arrow. If turning right, you must use the right-hand lane and indicate accordingly. To use the roundabout safely, remember these 3 tips. Know your exit, pick your lane, and signal to make your turn.
All right. Yay. Very good. Yes, absolutely. Beautiful. All right. So a little bit, no worries, a little bit tricky there. I feel like even that video isn't enough information. So let's break it down. Let's talk about the Hurley's roundabout, for example, right? So in the evenings, I always take South Sound Road, and then I come off of South Sound Road. Now there is that sort of traffic control light that is there right before we enter the Grand Harbor roundabout. Now, how effective has that been? Has that been working?
Well, yes, it actually has been, because actually it's a metering light for the evening traffic.
Yes.
To help the traffic coming from off of Crew Road, to help them move a little bit quicker than the people. Because what had been happening was people from South Sound they had the right of way because they're on your right, correct? So they had the right of way, but they are not actually the main road. That's not where all the main traffic is. The main traffic is actually coming from off Crew Road. So the goal was to help to stop that traffic for a few seconds, to help the True Road traffic to move through, just to help the roundabout work a little bit better, because the traffic was a little off balance.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, I always try to pay attention when I'm there, because obviously it tells you to stop, and then it gives you the amber light for you can proceed with caution. And once I come out of that, you always give, this is simple, in a roundabout, you should always give way to whatever's coming from your right. Are there any exceptions to that? Always give way to the right.
Right.
That's the rule. Okay.
Right.
So coming from the right, of course, is traffic that, especially in the evening hours, is pretty free flowing and can be coming really fast at you. And I think sometimes they forget that coming into the roundabout, they should probably slow down because
we actually have started a little. I'm starting a little campaign now where we have to remember that roundabouts are intersections. People tend to forget that they're intersections, and they tend to just drive through them like they're part of the just part of the lane, which they're actually not. I actually put something on our Facebook page the other day where you should, even if nothing's coming, you should actually slow down and pause. There is a give way sign there at the roundabout, and that's what you should do. You need to give way and then go if nothing is coming. But it is an intersection, and it needs to be treated as such. People are going to be coming from different directions, and it needs to be treated as an intersection. If you pause, you need to go a little slower. It's not 40 miles an hour through the roundabout. It is more like 25. So you need to follow.
You see, I never knew that. I never knew that it was actually intersection. So
it's an intersection. It's not. It's like the difference you have different types of intersections. You have the roundabout. You have signals, and you have your 3-way, 4-way stops. And what I just want to mention, what's nice about a roundabout in terms of a signal. Now, roundabouts, yes, you may have more accidents that we talked about earlier, but none of them are major accidents. They're minor accidents.
Yeah.
Hopefully, Jody can back me up on this.
Yes.
Where they're just no more side swipes type accidents. Whereas at an intersection, they're more T-bones, so they're more major accidents. So that's another nice thing about a roundabout is they're more accidents maybe, but they're minor. But you do have to treat that roundabout as an intersection. You are coming upon a change in geometry, change in direction. You have people coming from different ways. It's like a signal, but it's a roundabout.
Wow! So I've just found this on your
that's what we just started.
So like I said, this is news to me, and this is why we try to do these sessions because I think we're all able to learn something new. So I've been guilty of going through a roundabout at normal speed. Like I don't always, if I don't see anything coming, I'm like, oh, there's no need to slow down. But here you go.
There's a need to slow down.
A roundabout is actually considered an intersection, and you should always reduce your speed on approach. Makes sense. And it would probably, prevent 99% of the accidents that we do see happening. So that's a good takeaway from this morning's segment already. So I'm coming out of South Sound. I look to the traffic that is coming. Now that they know that, hopefully they'll pay attention and slow down a little bit. Because sometimes it is literally hit the pedal as quickly as you can to get out in front of that vehicle that's coming from the eastern districts, just so that you can get into the roundabout. So now traffic that's coming from Crew Road, they have to give way to people coming out of South Sound. But if I'm coming out of South Sound, should I be, and I see this all the time, and somehow my brain tells me that this is wrong and it's asking for trouble, but maybe in terms of the road rules, it's not a problem. I'm not sure. But should I ever take that first entrance into the Grand Harbor Plaza?
To go all the way around? To go
no.
If you're heading to East End and you're avoiding
Sound,
that's fine.
You know how I can go to the left and go down by the pharmacy. Should I take that, or is that an illegal move?
No, that's fine.
That's okay. But then it forces me to cross over because there's 3 lanes there, right? So there's like that inside lane where the cones are at, which sometimes I take just to keep going straight. And then there's the 2 outer ones, but I feel like I'm crossing over those, and sometimes people out of
So I think that the best rule is if you're exiting on the first lane. So when you're coming out of South Sound, the first lane would be to go back to Crew Road. So if you're going on the first lane or you're going on the second lane would be the one going into Grand Harbor. Then you take the outermost lane.
Right, but it's a short decision to make. So
I
shouldn't be
know where you're going.
You've already known where you're going before you approach the exit.
No, I know, but I feel like other people may not know.
So you should have already decided where you're going.
Yes.
And what lane you need to be in order to get to your destination. And remember that it's a roundabout. So if you didn't get to where you were going, or you didn't choose the right lane, just go back around
it again.
It's a roundabout. Yeah.
I kind of feel like that one is really risky.
The lanes while you're maneuvering on the roundabout, because that's where the accidents happen. When you don't choose your lane and then you try to switch. Yeah.
You shouldn't switch lanes in a roundabout.
No, absolutely not.
Okay. Yeah, because I really feel like coming out of South Sound, because you have such a short distance to like jettison over. And there are people who are coming off of the 2 lanes out of Crew Road that start to encroach in the roundabout before you've cleared it.
Yeah.
So that's also a little bit of an
This is
issue.
where your indicators come in very handy.
Yes.
And you need to use them. Because a lot of people don't tend to use their indicators. People can't guess where you're going. You need to use your indicator, let them know where you're going. Because yes, the Grand Harbor roundabout is in an interim stage. It is a little confusing. It might be confusing to some people. So you need to know where you are going and use your indicator to show people where you are going.
Mm-hmm. Very good point. Some months back, there was a trial in court, and they were talking about one of the detectives gave some evidence, and he said that he was explaining how they kind of narrowed down when they first looked at some video footage, some CCTV footage, how they thought it was either a female driver driving the vehicle or a new driver. And one of the things he said is this person used their indicator a lot. So every time they were changing lanes, they were turning, they would use their indicator. And our experience has taught us that women tend to indicate more than men. And new drivers who are still a bit uncertain about the roadway also tend to use their indicators a lot. So the takeaway from that is sometimes when you're a seasoned driver, you get lazy with a lot of the road rules. And like you ladies said, nobody can read your mind. We don't know what direction you're going if you don't indicate and tell people essentially what it is that you're intending to do. So we do have a few questions and comments from our viewers. So Ms. Nona says, can you inquire as to what age children are permitted to be left in a car and at home? I have heard about people leaving their 11-year-olds, for instance, home alone, and I always wondered if this is illegal. What's the law pertaining to this, as child safety is paramount? So not always specific to the roadways, but is there, do you know, Jody?
So, I don't know if I'm going to be correct in saying this, but I think that for every child, it'll be different. And it's going to boil down to what you as a parent think is safe. Certainly, I don't think that a child under 12 years old should be left at home alone for an extended period of time, for hours, for instance. But if you have a question pertaining to that, I think the best place to ask that question is through the MASH unit. They would be certainly more able to advise you on that. And the number to call for that is 649-6000.
Right. But you should probably never leave a child in a car. Like I feel like a car is such a different situation for numerous reasons.
Well, it is against the law to leave your vehicle unattended, running while unattended. And a minor is not a caretaker for a vehicle. They cannot drive the vehicle. They cannot maneuver the vehicle in the event of an emergency. So certainly not in a vehicle.
Right.
And you definitely don't want to leave your child unattended in a vehicle that's turned off and the windows are up and that kind of thing as well. For obvious reasons, the heat can get overwhelming really quickly.
And many years ago, probably about maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I actually didn't know that you can't leave a running vehicle unattended because I used to do it, and this is one of those bad habits that you learn sometimes.
Yeah, it's a ticketable offense. But remember that when you leave your vehicles unattended, if somebody wants to steal your vehicle, they don't have to go very far to try to take it away. So you left the keys in there.
Back in the day, Jody Ann, you didn't have that worry, because I remember my dad, this is one of those bad habits I picked up from him, right? A long time ago. He would always park, like, you guys know I think it was Mr. Larry's patty shop on the waterfront where the Dairy Queen and stuff is. Was that Mr. Larry? Or Mr. Thompson. Anyway, the patty shop was there. So he would go in there to grab a patty and whatever. And he would just leave the car running, come back. You didn't really worry about people stealing cars then. That no longer is the case. But a lot of times he would just, if he was going in a shop or whatever, he'd just leave the car running, leave the AC on, you'd come back. The car was nice and cool. So you can't do it. And I didn't know that. And I used to have, on previous vehicles, I had this auto start mode where I could pre-start the vehicle and let it cool down before walking out to the car. It's like part of a car alarm system. And so I used to do that all the time. And one time an officer walked by my car and he said, "Is your car running?" And I said, "Oh yeah, I'm going to just leave it so it can cool down." And he said, "But that's actually against the law. It's like you said, a ticketable offense." And I had no idea. I'm like, "Really?" And he said, "Oh yeah."
Yeah.
So it's important to know these things, folks, so that you don't get a ticket. Carol says that lunatics on the bypass out of West Bay every morning, speeding, tailgating, and overtaking. So what do you do if you see a lunatic on the roadway, as Carol is saying here? Do you call the police and report bad drivers? What's the proper protocol?
I think if you have a passenger, because we don't want anybody to be using their cell phones while they're driving. If you have a passenger, then you can ask that passenger to record that license plate number. You can call 911, especially if it's in traffic. It might be reasonable to say that an officer coming in the opposite direction may be able to catch up with that vehicle and probably see what's happening. So if you call 911 and make that report to say that somebody's driving dangerously, recklessly on the roadways, we could try to see if we can catch up and see if we can catch that person in the act. But if we don't, it's not a complete loss either. Even though traffic offenses are strict liability, meaning that it has to be in the view of the officer, or somebody can give evidence in order to prosecute. Even then, if we have the license plate number, we can find out who the person is. We can issue a warning to them to let them know that their driving behavior was so poor on the roadway that somebody thought that it was necessary to call the police and report how they were driving. And so that being said, that officer would also know that vehicle, know that license plate number, know that driver, and would be on the lookout for them again. So,
right.
And
dash cams. This is probably where dash cams are a really good investment. I feel like everyone should have a dash cam as well.
And we also, and if you do have a dash cam and your dash cam recorded that, you can also submit tips through our website and through our mobile app, and you can submit those dash cam footage showing the driving behavior. And if you do decide that, it's worth you going the extra mile and providing evidence in order for us to make a prosecution, then you can leave your name, leave a contact detail, and a traffic officer will come and take a statement from you to say that this was your dash cam footage and you're evidencing it, and then we'll handle the matter that way.
Yeah. I witnessed that same South Sound area. This was, I think last year sometime. I actually witnessed a mother allowing a child coming from the west direction, or east, sorry, and turning into, I forget what those condos are called, but they're very close by the light. South Sound, oh God, I forget what they're called. But the ones that are right by the light that now stops you from going into the roundabout?
Right.
Sunrise. There's like several phases to them. So she actually had a child sitting in her lap coming this direction. I was sitting in traffic. So I paused to let them turn. And then I saw the child sitting in her lap and like handling the steering wheel and allowing them to turn into the complex. So she was actually driving with the child on her lap. And I don't know at what point the journey started, but obviously that sort of behavior is extremely dangerous because heaven forbid you get in a car accident. A child who's not secured is bad enough, but a child who's actually sitting, a young child, I mean like a toddler age, who is sitting on your lap in front of a steering wheel, should you get in a serious accident, could be easily killed.
I know that a lot of these things are like cultural things that we grew up doing when we were younger as well. But we have to remember that the roads are different from when we were younger. People drive differently from when we were younger. The rules are different from when we were younger. And so we can't have the same expectations back in the day when we were growing up to now as well. That is absolutely dangerous. It is absolutely a reckless act on the roadway. And I would definitely encourage everyone to make sure that if they have children, make sure that they're strapped in the back seat. If they are young children, make sure that you have a car seat or a booster seat that is properly fixed in the vehicle, and have your children strapped in. Have regular talks with your kids to make sure that they know what their rules are while you're driving. No excessive noise, no moving around, no getting out the seatbelt. That's absolutely dangerous. So
That's good. And to your point, PC Powery, letting children know early on what the rules are, believe it or not, they really acclimate themselves to that position. I remember with she's 5 years old now, but when she was a baby, it was always a fight to get her in that car seat and buckled up. Oh, she didn't like it, and she was always like pulling at it. And I just really remained steadfast. And you've got to be buckled into your seatbelt, obviously, and make sure that it was nice and snug. And I remember that one day, just in the neighborhood, I was literally going, a couple feet up the road, and I put her in the back seat. And I didn't buckle her in her car seat. She was in the car seat, but she wasn't buckled in. And she reminded me, "Oh, mommy, you haven't buckled me in." And I was like,
yeah, children love to be helpful. So if if you have the conversation in that way, like my son knows that drinking and driving is illegal and it's dangerous. And so I can't even drink water while I'm driving because drinking and driving is illegal. So
right.
Yeah, and they catch on really fast and they want to be helpful. So let's allow them to be.
Yeah.
My son is 13 years old, and I told him I was coming on the show this morning, and he reminded me to just talk about, he was reminding me, by the way, to talk about drunk driving and speeding, that they're the two major things that need to be talked about over Christmas.
A 13-year-old.
My 13-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I will do that.
They're definitely paying attention. So Melanie says the slip road by Hurley's roundabout to South Sound is a total blind spot if you have a left-hand drive vehicle. Is that getting updated? So the slip road is, yes, I know where she's talking about. So it's when you're coming from the east and you have to pause, because again, you always give way to the right. For any additional traffic that's in that other lane also coming from the east, because they could be turning into South Sound as well. So she's saying that it's a blind spot, especially if you have a left-hand drive vehicle.
Right.
Is there any consideration about how? Now I know that whole area is currently under construction.
It's under construction. The road is getting widened at that location, and the roundabout's getting reconfigured a little bit.
Right.
And there's discussions in regards to that slip lane, whether you can keep it or not. So, but if you do, because I drive a Toyota and went through it's on that far side. I tend not to use the slip lane. I just go into the roundabout and go down, and skip it altogether because my neck doesn't turn that far, to be honest. So, so I don't even.
To Melanie's point, it's definitely a blind spot.
It can be, and I myself has had a couple accidents.
Yeah. So Carol says that Hurley's roundabout was designed by somebody who's never driven. Oh my gosh. Let alone driven round a roundabout, and nobody merges. They just cut across. Most drivers here would be in a serious accident within 5 minutes in the UK or stopped by the police. So Carol's a little bit more used to roundabouts, it sounds like, and she's saying
a few things there, but
yeah. So I do find that Hurley's roundabout always interesting to navigate for a couple of different reasons. So but like you said, sometimes you get in it and you recognizing you just don't have enough time to make the maneuver that you want. So go around the roundabout and then there are a lot of times that I will just go up further and then cross over into the second entrance into Grand Harbor as well, because it's just easier to do that.
Yeah.
Vanessa says, I think this was in relation to the question about children, that it's not illegal, but it's up to the parents. Not in the car though, but at home. I guess you have to know potentially what trouble your kids could get into. But it's an interesting question about leaving kids at home at different ages, because there are so many things I feel like in a house that kids could get into that could be problematic. So I think parents should think carefully about leaving any child probably unsupervised. So Anthony says, what trouble spots are major accident-prone areas that need change or improvements by NRA or the relevant agency? So this is a question for Marian. Have you identified,
Actually, that's a question
in my mind, I feel like I know them, but of course you probably know them better based on statistically where accidents are happening.
Well, that's actually a question for both of us, both the police and ourselves. So we have to work together on that one, because they have the statistics, and then we. So
okay,
so we are working
Lowry,
together.
do you know? You might not have brought this information today, but could you name like the top 5 accident spots based on location? Like I feel like A.L. Thompson's is definitely in the top 5.
The L. Thompson's, or is that the Butterfield? It's called the Butterfield Roundabout.
The Butterfield Roundabout.
It's not L. Thompson's, but it's the Butterfield Roundabout. The Butterfield Roundabout is definitely one of them. Surprisingly, the roundabout on Crew Road by the airport fence, that one is also has also been kind of had quite a few accidents.
Yeah.
I think that the stoplight by Jake Scott is that Shedden Road and North Sound Road.
Yes.
That one is very accident prone as well. And a lot of serious accidents or collisions happen on the the Esterly Tibbetts highway. But I must say though, is that 4? That's 4.
I think so, yes.
So let me think about another one. Bobby Thompson stoplight has also been quite an issue over the years as well. And as you can see, that's like in the highly populated Georgetown areas where there are a lot of cars on the road at various times of the day. Those roadways are never really empty. And if you're talking about like lunchtime, nighttime, morning commutes, it's even worse. But I must say though, I don't necessarily think that it is the roadway that's causing the accidents.
Yeah, it's the drivers.
It's just
Definitely.
And it's very, very minor things. A lot of times, like just paying attention, not being on your phone. It's especially for the Esterly Tibbetts, those ones happen like late at night after persons have been drinking and they're speeding and they're racing. A lot of racing goes on after persons have been drinking because poor decisions are made during that time. So I just feel like, it's just us making better decisions and being more accountable for our actions and just being safe. I feel like passengers should be holding drivers accountable when you are in the vehicle. Make sure that you tell these drivers to slow down. If you're not going to be slowing down, then please let me out because I'm not going to tolerate you driving me in that way.
Right. That's a really good point. Put a little bit of peer pressure on them.
Can I add something a little bit? A few years back, in about 2000, I think it was 2014, the NRA we did a road safety audit across the islands, and we did look at various locations that were. They did a video, and we had the consultant come down, and we actually did a general audit throughout the island on the major roads. And over the years, we've actually incorporated their suggestions. So you obviously have seen more guardrail come up in certain locations, and say in Town, where we've actually cleared the shoulder to have some clear zone. So it's a safety thing to have. So if the car you have a safe space to go, and we've done that in Town area. There's some guardrail that's gone up out east as well. And obviously the Esterly Tibbets used to have major head-on collisions
Right.
A while back, if you remember. But now with the median down the center, that has more or less just, that accident doesn't happen anymore. The head-on collision. If you remember, it was a 2-lane road, and we always had the high-speed head-on collisions. But that doesn't happen anymore on that particular stretch of road. So over the years, we've had, it's not readily, you can't readily see it, but these small changes that have happened in terms of more guardrail has come up on certain locations of the road. We've cleared for your shoulders, even down on South Sound. We've made some provisions for some clear zone for people to walk, et cetera. So you will see those come up across the island. That's where the major changes have come from the National Roads Authority as well, not just providing bike lanes and things like that, but you'll see the shoulders and the guardrail come up out east. That's what's happened out east mostly, because out east it's there's a lot of straight roads and people tend to speed because they're clear, right? So
That's a good point. Thank you so much, Anthony, for that question. Evelyn says, very interesting. Melinda says, OMG, pet peeve, signals, please. People literally cross lanes at the exit, and I always look out for those types of people. Cautious driving around those roundabouts. Not everyone knows how to drive. Do you think that one of the contributing factors, I know you've said speed, drinking, late at night when people are, out for the day having a few drinks or whatever. Do you think one of the contributing factors in Cayman is that we have so many people, we have such a diverse population from all over the world, and they sort of bring in their own cultural components to driving. So in some countries, being a crazy driver is probably a good thing, and you don't necessarily follow the road rules as well as other countries. There are some people who've never driven before, like they've lived in a country where they wouldn't have had access to vehicles. So this is actually their first time driving, so they're learning how to drive on the roadways. Do you think that that is also a contributing factor to some of the accidents?
I think that it may be a contributing factor, but it shouldn't be. And I'll tell you why. When you under the Geneva rule, yes, certain countries can transfer their driver's license to the Cayman Islands. However, you are still required to do a written test in order to do that, which means that you would have to get familiar with our road rules, with our way of driving before you actually get to transfer your driver's license. So I think that by ignoring those rules that you had to read in order to get a driver's license here in the first place, it's just you're just ignoring the rules. So it may be a factor, but it shouldn't be, because you are aware, because you have to go through the rule book, whether or not you are a new driver who's getting your driver's license for the first time in the Cayman Islands, or whether or not you were a driver from before. You still have to go through the rule book in order to take our tests.
Interesting point. Yes. All right. Alinda also says, I think the legal age is 14, but the officer said, know your child's maturity. And if they can be left unsupervised, some children like to get into mischief by personality. Tommy's joining us from the Bahamas. Good morning, Tommy. Tracy says they should make it mandatory to get a license to have roundabouts as part of the driving, just like the driving test, just like driving in reverse and parking.
I think it is a part of the driving test.
It is.
You have to clear at least one roundabout in order to.
Yeah.
Well, the DVDL is there's 2 roundabouts right there between them.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to get there. You have to go around at least one of them.
Okay. Alice says that it needs to be a crossing outside of the Humane Society. Isn't there a crossing there already?
No, ma'am.
There isn't. Oh,
there's not.
Well, that's maybe a good idea.
Come across our desk multiple times. Yes.
Yeah, that's probably a good suggestion. I don't know why I thought that there was, but yes. Good morning, Ms. Joy, joining us from Texas. Marva says, what I witnessed when in the UK during my visit is most major roundabouts in the UK, such as Hurley's, Cayman Bay, Butterfield, CTMH, and companies also have street lights to help pedestrians properly navigate on the roundabout. Ooh, that's adding a level of complexity that I probably wouldn't recommend, but I don't know. Pedestrians on a roundabout, I guess it would force people to maybe slow down.
Well, we actually, if you know, the C&B roundabout, we've tested that out, putting the pedestrian crossings at the roundabout. The reason that one is okay because it's a slower roundabout. The roads coming into it are a bit slower. So it seems to have worked, and people do seem to follow it pretty well. So we actually have taken that step to look at the roundabouts and see about pedestrian crossings or overpasses.
Interesting. Okay. Alice, good morning. Hi, Miss Sue. Miss Alice says we need traffic lights and roundabouts, but I'm sure they'll jump them like the others. Is there such a thing as a traffic light in a roundabout?
Yes, there is. If the roundabout is becomes off balance again, that's kind of what the metering light is on South Sound. I think that's what she's talking about.
All right, I've got the lawn guy outside. That's what that noise is, in case you guys are wondering. I need to send them a little reminder, not before 9:30. All right, Carol says she's got another pet peeve. Carol's got a lot of pet peeves, y'all. Drivers going through red stoplights and turning even though they can't get anywhere at a traffic light junction, therefore blocking traffic when other lights turn green. So she's saying that the Shedden Road, Jake Scott intersection, for example, if you can't leave the junction, don't enter it. Yes.
Yeah.
So I see what she's saying. People actually blocking the junction, which you're not supposed to do.
No.
What also happens at that, and I think other stoplights as well, is that when people are in the turning lane, in the stoplights, so if they're turning left or right, and the light is green but the arrow isn't up, a lot of times people try to beat the vehicle ahead by turning left or right, depending on which light is up. And a lot of serious collisions happen that way, where they misjudge the distance or the speed of the vehicle that's coming through the stoplight legally, because it is their go, because they're on green, even though you can turn left or right. If the light is on green, the road must be clear first. So no trying to beat the vehicle that's coming ahead. If there is a vehicle, stay and wait until it's your turn, or wait on the arrow light for your turn to go.
Oh, sorry, I forgot to unmute myself. Sorry. Marva says that the orange cones on these roundabouts are confusing some drivers, whereby they enter the area that they should not. I'd have to see that to see what the confusion is. But Rob, I'm not sure if Rob is joking here, but he says we need a multi-lane bridge on stilts across the north sound. Okay. Louis, thank you so much. He's joining us from Detroit. He says, what is required to be a driving instructor? I think it would be a game changer to teach young drivers to be responsible when they're behind the wheel. So there are a few driving companies, but is there any special requirement to get a license to be in the business of teaching others how to drive?
I'm actually not sure. I'd have to speak with Mr. Dixon from the DVDL and see how that goes. But I want to say, though, quite a few of our traffic officers, our more experienced traffic officers, do go to a lot of the high schools sometimes and give like the older kids some driving advice and stuff like that for when they get out of school and they decide to go and have their license and so on. They do give like presentation to some of the children in schools, just to keep them up to date on what's happening.
Right. So Jared actually, I'm going to bring Jared back on screen. I kind of forgot about you for a second there, Jared. Sorry.
Hello, good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning. So Jared, you said that they have to take some sort of a driving test?
Yes, they have to answer driving questions. Typically, I believe the question is about 30 to 35 for normal drivers that they have to take, but the instructors have to take about or answer at least 100 questions, because that's just how it is. I knew a driving instructor, Vincent Walters, used to be with the
Oh, he's
RCIPS.
awesome. Yes.
Yes,
He
guys,
was my driving instructor.
guys,
when I
if
was
you want to
there.
be a qualified driver, take Vincent Walters. I passed on my first try.
Okay. Very thorough, it sounds like.
Very thorough.
So thank you for that additional information. Some people drive with bad minds, says Dawn. So before you get behind the wheel, just clear your mind and drive with positivity. That's what Dawn seems to be suggesting. And of course, I'm sure that would certainly help. So Louis says, is it required to do a driving test to get a Cayman license as a visitor? No.
Well,
Not if you're coming for a week.
If you're coming for a week, if you're staying for a week or two, I don't think that you're required to transfer your driver's license. But if you're staying for an extended period, I think it's more than 3 months or more than 6 months, then you'll have to transfer your driver's license. And that means that you would have to take a test.
Right. And Tracy's suggesting maybe they should have to take a test because they get confused by roundabouts. And you know what, folks? Here in the Cayman Islands, we can still differentiate between a tourist vehicle and a non-tourist vehicle in terms of a rental, if they have a rental. So I always give them a little bit more leeway. Once I identify that it's a rental, put an extra couple cars between you, give them the right of way, definitely in a roundabout situation, because again, they may be unfamiliar with it. And a lot of times you can see based on the way that they're driving, their unfamiliarity. So it makes sense to, again, not just be an offensive driver, but be a defensive driver, and also exhibit a little bit of Cayman kind on the roadways. Like I've seen people pull off on the East-West Arterial, for example, tourists, and they get confused. And I pulled up and said, hey, do you need some help getting back on the main road? This is where you go. And sometimes we were looking for Pedro Castle. Now we don't know where to go. So just a little bit of courtesy, I think, on the roadway could go a long way.
We actually do give the brochure to the rental car agencies as well. And when which sometimes this is a shout out to them, if they run out, to let us know. And we will give them more. For the drivers, because a lot of drivers are from the U.S. So me being from the United States as well, the roundabouts were pretty foreign. We had traffic circles, but we didn't have state roundabouts.
Okay, so Deep Blue Sea says that's the problem. A written test is no substitute for the practical test. Studying for the sake of passing a test does not translate to safe and considered driving. It's time to stop the Geneva transfers. That's probably a political recommendation, Deep Blue Sea, above the pay grade of the young ladies here today. Tracy?
I just want to, remember that if we stop the Geneva, it stops both ways. It means that when our children go off to college in the UK or in various other countries, they won't be able to transfer their driver's license as easily as well. It's another inconvenience for them, on top of them being in a strange place trying to get their lives together. So
good point.
I do understand the frustration that comes with poor driving habits. Especially as a police officer, I used to do patrols, and I've seen a lot of stuff on the roadways. But we have to remember to be courteous, to be kind to each other, to follow the road rules, and just to, I think, chill out just a little bit. Road rage definitely causes everything to look that much worse. But we have had 9 fatalities compared to 9 last year as well. And so driving behavior is definitely serious, and driving on the roadways is one of safety on the roadways is one of our top priorities, always, because we've always had the issue of fatalities on our roadways. So I do understand the frustration. There is various points to it, though. So we have to be careful about the decisions that we make.
Mm-hmm. We do have a WhatsApp viewer who sent in the following. She says anonymous, but of course worth sharing. I've left my son in the car at age 2, sleeping while I took the groceries into the house. I don't know how long I was gone, but by the time I got back in the car had cut off on its own. And when I returned, he was awake and crying, hot and alone. I broke down, cradled him and cried and apologized and promised him Mommy will never do it again. Mom, parents don't for no reason. Depending on the age of the car, that car or any car can turn off on its own. This was the case here, and it was my mother's old car that I borrowed when I first moved back home. I knew better, but because of the situation, I thought we were safe. You're never too safe. It's wrong. Don't leave your young children in the car. So, wow. Some really salient, advice there. And I think that probably most mothers have had to do this because you're multitasking. What I do myself, because I have had to do this, is I actually just put it on the inside of the door and literally I'm looking at the car. So I'm not far away from the car. I'm not like going inside all the way to the kitchen. I'll initially drop all the groceries by the door, then unload my handbag, the baby, secure the car, and then I have to make another trip from the front door to the kitchen with the groceries. But yeah, very good point in that you just never know. I mean, it only takes a split second for something to go wrong. So Deep Blue Seas says the transfer of the licenses between the UK and Cayman is a separate agreement. So maybe we can look into that. Thank you, Deep Blue. Jared, what are your comments or questions for our guest today?
Well, I was looking at the statistics for 10, 11 years, and I noticed that our numbers have been going down. But, in terms of motor vehicle accidents for 2020, we're looking at over 2,100. I stand corrected, but this was from the RCIPS.ky website. Very good. And it could be lower. It could be lower. As the ladies said, from NRA and RCIPS, one, we need to have grace. We need to be kind, but we need to be our brother's keeper. We need to look left, look right, look center, look behind, and just take a breather. We don't need to be this stressed. I think it's a tense time for everyone. However, for the traffic fatalities, which I'm not really impressed about, even if it's one death, it's bad. It'd be better if it was 0. I noticed in 2020 we had 9 deaths, and 2019 we had 9, and 2018 we had 8, and then it dips a bit. But the question that I have to the representatives here is, what are we doing to mitigate the hot spots? Because I know we said, oh yeah, we have hot spots, but I didn't really hear anything about, okay, we're going to be putting in certain, I don't know if it's possible to put any measure in with those hot spots.
Well, I think Ms. Jody answered this. She said
I think
drivers.
we both answered a little bit on that one.
Well,
the amber, are you talking about the amber light at
No, I was talking about when we did that audit. We actually have from our standpoint, and we're working with the police on it. We're looking at the locations, and we've had say put guardrail in certain locations, and the clear zones on the major roads for pedestrians and things of that sort. So we had. Go ahead, Jody. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we in a more present thing as well, Jared. I want to say that we launched a road safety operation back in June after we had 2 fatalities in the month of May. We launched Operation Quaker, and with Operation Quaker, the aim was to try to educate the public about road safety, about the trends that we've been seeing on the roadways, the violations that we've been seeing, giving advice to the public on how to avoid being in collisions. The main things being not to drink and drive, not to speed, to reduce your speed, especially at night, especially when the roads are wet. To not drive distracted, whether it be by talking to your passengers or by talking on the phone, or any other means of being distracted on the roadways, because those are top 3 contenders for vehicle collisions, especially fatal collisions in the Cayman Islands. And Operation Quaker is now running alongside our Operation Winter Guardian, which is our holiday safety operation that we have launched as of the first of the month. To back up the educational aspect of it, we've also increased our enforcement. So what we have been doing is we have been doing vehicular checkpoints, increase and spontaneous vehicular checkpoints, especially on weekends at nights, in those hotspot areas a lot of times, to reduce the speed of people coming on the roadways, to get them to pay attention in those areas, and also to reinforce the educational aspect um, of the operation by enforcing the things that we have been asking people to ensure that they do on the roadways. So far this year, even though last year we had over 2,100, this year it's over 2,500 already for collisions. But in addition to that, we've also issued over 3,500 speeding tickets for the year. So already. And so we have been absolutely trying. We have been doing our best to try to reduce the number of collisions that have been taking place, especially the serious collisions, by taking part in these operations, but also by partnering with the NRA. Currently, the NRA's their digital billboards are up with safety messages on the roadways, especially in those hotspot areas, with messages telling people not to drink and drive, to slow down. We also partner with the National Drug Council. They're currently running their Arrive Alive campaign. And we partner with them as well to encourage people to use the Purple Ribbon Bus on Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve, but also for instance, companies who are having Christmas parties to employ shuttle services for their staff, so that they're not drinking and driving while partaking in those activities. So I know we're running out of time, but those are quite a bit of things that we have been trying to do throughout the year and every year to make sure that the roads are safe. But everyone has to also do their part by being courteous, by following the rules, by not drinking and driving and not speeding.
Especially this time of year, not the drinking and driving aspect. As the NRA is also a sponsor of the 345 campaign.
Well, as long as we have boots on the ground and people can see the boots on the ground, because I think it's a image issue for people. Police can't be everywhere, but they shouldn't be everywhere. But everyone needs to put their foot on the brake and relax and just, we don't need to be having unnecessary accidents and loss of life. And I agree 100% with NRA and RCIPS. They're doing 100% excellent job as they can, and yeah.
Okay, Jared, thank you. All right, folks, we are out of time. It goes by so quickly, so we'd like to thank our guests. Yeah, it went by fast. We'd like to thank our guests for coming on the program this morning, Ms. Jody Ann Powery from the RCIPS, and we also had Ms. Marianne Pandui from the National Roads Authority. They will not be strangers, folks, I promise you. They'll be coming on a regular basis because, of course, one of the ways in which to reinforce the messages of good driving habits, not drinking and driving, slowing down. And I mean, I learned something new today in terms of, the intersection, roundabouts being considered an intersection. So slow down as you go into a roundabout. There's so many little things I think that we can all benefit from both of these agencies when it comes to road traffic safety, the road rules, and just trying to be better, more engaged drivers. So they will definitely be joining us more in 2022 on the program. So thank you both for coming on. This was your first time on. I don't think it was too bad. It wasn't anything too stressful. And yes, we wish you both a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays and Happy New Year.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Same to you.
Okay, awesome, folks. So again, that's PC Powery and Ms. Marian Pandui joining us from the RCIPS and the NRA, respectively. So again, ladies, thank you very, very much. Kimberly says, when will the Ministry of Infrastructure address the traffic situation in the Eastern districts? We all know that extending the east-west bypass will not help, as once motorists approach the Chrisley Tomlinson roundabout, everything will bottleneck again. Well, Kimberly, there will always be a point of bottlenecking because there's only so much land mass and so much roadways. So maybe what people really need to hear, which is a cold hard truth that nobody wants to hear, is that the one way to address the situation is the reduction of vehicles. And we should have this conversation soon about how many of you are willing to give up a vehicle in your household in order to have fewer vehicles on the streets. That's one way to address all of the traffic issues. Limit one vehicle per household. How many of us could survive with that? I could tell you, for me, that would be extremely difficult to do, because I have a completely different schedule than my husband, who has to have his vehicle at work, and his job requires him sometimes to go meet with third-party vendors and whatever, have meetings. And my job, I'm always on the road, up and down, all over the place. So public transportation wouldn't be entirely useful to me. It could get me to town, but once I go to town, I got like 10 stops to make. And, so the practicalities sometimes of sharing a vehicle in a single household becomes very, very challenging. So those are the tough questions I think that we need to be asking and considering for ourselves as a community. What sacrifices are we willing to make, and what sacrifices can we actually make as well? Okay, folks, I know some of you have sent some emails regarding the program, and I'll review some of those. I think some are more general comments. I've seen a few things come in. One is about a local store selling stuff overpriced. Oh, yeah. Maybe we can talk about that on tomorrow's program. So yes, we'll continue the conversation, folks. Tomorrow is Impact Wednesday. I don't have anybody confirmed from the PAC government yet, but we'll see who's coming on. We're going to be getting Christmas greetings from everyone, of course. 'Tis the season to be merry, and big shout out again to David Ebanks. Today is his birthday. And we also want to play a couple greetings. So the Scranton community had their annual Christmas event this weekend. It was pared down compared to how it normally would be because of COVID restrictions, but it still gave people an opportunity in the community to come out and have a little meal. Big shout out, by the way, to Rotary. I think it was Rotary Central. They were there, and they were, I think, assisted with the donation and provision of the food, and they were serving the food and stuff as well. Woody Foster was there in his Rotary shirt, and others working incredibly hard. So big shout out to them, and thank you guys so much. And here is another video that we have in terms of pedestrian crosswalks and how to navigate those safely. And then I'll show you the Christmas greetings from the Scranton Christmas party this weekend.
When approaching a pedestrian crossing, be alert to the possibility that pedestrians may wish to cross the road from either direction. If you see a person near the crossing, be prepared to come to a complete stop. Vehicles moving in either direction must stop until the pedestrian has crossed safely.
All right, folks. So another road safety tip there about how to navigate a pedestrian crosswalk as drivers. You got to pay attention when people are coming into a pedestrian crosswalk. All right, folks, Christmas greetings. Again, the Scranton community. I had the pleasure of stopping by there on Saturday. Just as I landed from came back, someone reminded me that their event was that evening. I missed the one for Windsor Park, unfortunately. But Windsor Park, what they did was, because they didn't want to have like a sit-down event because, again, of the COVID situation, they ended up preparing plates of food and distributing the plates of food. So Scranton did theirs a little bit different, but it was a really nice evening.
Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Good night, Cayman, and good night, Georgetown Central. As you can tell, we're here enjoying the Christmas spirit with our seniors and our kids in the Central Chicago community. I just want to say a special Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everybody in the neighborhood, and God bless you and your families through this time of the year.
Have you been procrastinating on your Christmas shopping? You'll have until December 17th to get all of Santa's packages to the Aeropost offices in Miami. Aeropost professional and dedicated staff are working around the clock to ensure your goods are in Cayman and available for pickup at your offices. Don't forget our industry-leading shopping and delivery portal keeps you in the know about the status of your packages at any given time. Aeropost, Christmas shopping and deliveries made easy. It's the season for big deals at Small Deals Outlet. Visit us for the latest gadgets, small electronics, phone cases, cables, and so much more. Small Deals Outlet specializes in all 2021 trending stocking stuffers like portable Wi-Fi routers, office desks and chairs, straightening hairbrushes, earbuds, and charging cables. Visit us today in the Thompson Building or conveniently order online at smalldealsoutlet.com and have it delivered to you. 'Tis the season for big deals at Small Deals Outlet. Call 746-7054 for more info.
Ho, ho, ho! I want to wish you a Merry Christmas. Don't make it a blue Christmas by delaying on ordering your propane for that Cayman beef and turkey. Be like the 3 wise men who rode through the night and prepare for the 12 days of Christmas. Hark! Propane makes all the herald angels sing. Feliz Navidad! Contact Home Gas early for your Christmas propane order at 949-7474. Thank you for tuning in to another edition of The Cold Hard Truth. Make sure to check Facebook for showtimes and more information and the latest news at CaymanMarlRoad.com. Subscribe to our IG and Facebook pages to get the latest happenings.